Nobody is ever going to choose him. The words drifted across the ballroom wrapped in laughter, soft enough to sound harmless and loud enough to leave a scar. Noah Bennett heard every syllable. He stood behind a long dessert display at the Chicago Children's Foundation Gala, arranging miniature cheesecakes while wealthy donors moved beneath crystal chandeliers. A few guests smiled awkwardly after the comment. Others pretended not to hear it. Nobody told the man he was wrong. Noah kept working. At 26, he had learned that reacting only made moments like these last longer. He was the Omega people called sweet, reliable, friendly, and safe, never the one who made heads turn or got proudly chosen. He smiled politely and adjusted another dessert tray, refusing to let strangers watch him break. Across the ballroom, Ethan Hayes stood near the stage reviewing documents with his assistant. At 32, Ethan was one of America's most influential chief executive officers, praised by magazines, feared by competitors, and quietly called intimidating by employees. Charity events drained him. His assistant handed him another folder. "Marcus Reed wants to speak with you before the speech." Ethan barely looked up. "Tomorrow. He said it is important." "Then it will still be important tomorrow." His assistant nodded, already familiar with that answer. Ethan's attention shifted when a loud crash echoed through the ballroom. Serving trays toppled near the dessert section. Plates shattered. Guests immediately stepped backward to protect expensive shoes and expensive reputations. An elderly server froze in panic. Noah moved before anyone else did. "Are you okay?" he asked, kneeling beside her. The woman looked close to tears. "I am so sorry. Nobody got hurt. That is what matters." Noah immediately organized nearby staff. He gathered towels, directed cleanup, and reassured the elderly server. Within minutes the crisis disappeared. Most guests returned to their conversations. Ethan continued watching. Something about Noah caught his attention. Not because he was trying to impress anyone. Quite the opposite. Noah never looked around to see who noticed. He simply helped. Because someone needed help. That kind of quiet kindness stayed with Ethan. Later that evening, Noah escaped onto a quiet terrace overlooking downtown Chicago. Cool spring air replaced the noise of the ballroom. Chicago glittered below. He allowed himself to breathe. "Long night?" a voice asked. Noah turned and nearly dropped his glass of water. Ethan Hayes stood a few feet away. Up close, he looked even more intimidating than he did in magazines. "Something like that," Noah answered. Ethan stepped beside him. "I saw what happened inside." Noah laughed softly. "The disaster with the trays?" "No. The way you treated people." Noah blinked. That was not the answer he expected. Most people noticed appearances. Ethan noticed character. "I just helped." "Most people did not." For several minutes they talked. Nothing extraordinary. Work. Chicago. The event. Yet the conversation felt strangely easy. Noah found himself relaxing despite every reason not to. Ethan asked questions and actually listened to the answers. No fake compliments. No hidden agenda. Just attention. Eventually Ethan's assistant appeared through the terrace doors. "Sir, the board members are waiting." Ethan nodded. Before leaving, he turned back toward Noah. "What is your name?" "Noah Bennett." Ethan repeated it quietly. "Noah Bennett." Something about the way he said it made Noah's chest tighten. "Nice to meet you, Noah." After Ethan disappeared inside, Noah remained on the terrace longer than necessary. Not with pity. Not with judgment. Just genuine interest. 3 days later, Noah arrived at the marketing agency where he worked expecting an ordinary Monday. Instead, he walked into chaos. Employees crowded around conference rooms. Managers hurried through hallways. Excitement buzzed through the office. His supervisor practically ran toward him. "Where have you been?" she asked. "Working?" Noah replied. She shoved a printed email into his hands. "Read this." Noah scanned the message. His eyes stopped on a single line. Requesting Noah Bennett as lead creative consultant. His mouth went dry. The project came from Hayes Group, one of the largest corporations in the country. This has to be a mistake, Noah said. It is not. His supervisor grinned. The request came directly from the top. Inside Hayes Group headquarters, Ethan stood on the executive floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. His assistant entered carrying project documents. The agency accepted. Good. Several executives are questioning your decision. Ethan looked away from the skyline. Which decision? Requesting Noah Bennett. Ethan said nothing for a moment. Then he remembered a crowded ballroom. A broken stack of trays. An elderly employee on the verge of tears. And one person who stepped forward while everyone else stepped back. Most people notice talent after success, Ethan said. I prefer noticing it before. His assistant left. A few minutes later, Ethan entered a boardroom filled with executives. Among them sat Marcus Reed, ambitious, polished, and already annoyed. Marcus opened the meeting with a thin smile. I reviewed the consultant profiles. Ethan took his seat. And? Marcus folded his hands. I believe there are stronger candidates. Ethan glanced at the file in front of him. Based on what? Marcus hesitated. Presentation. Image. Public appeal. Ethan's expression remained unreadable. Interesting. Marcus relaxed slightly. You agree? No. Silence filled the room. Ethan closed the folder. I am interested in results, Marcus. Not appearances. The meeting moved forward, but Marcus's expression darkened. At his own office, Noah stared at the email for the 10th time. Excitement battled insecurity inside him. Opportunities like this did not happen to people like him. At least that was what he had always been told. Yet somewhere deep inside, beneath years of doubt and disappointment, a small voice whispered something dangerous. Maybe everyone had been wrong. Maybe the story of his life was about to change. And neither Noah nor Ethan had any idea how much that single decision would cost them before it finally brought them together. Noah spent most of Monday convincing himself the email had been sent to the wrong person. Maybe Hayes Group wanted another Noah Bennett. Maybe an assistant selected the wrong file. Maybe Ethan Hayes did not even remember him. By Tuesday morning he still felt the same knot in his stomach as he entered the towering glass headquarters of Hayes Group. The building looked exactly like the kind of place where people like Noah did not belong. Employees moved with purpose. Executives crossed polished hallways carrying tablets and coffee. Noah adjusted the sleeves of his navy blazer and reminded himself to breathe. He had earned his place here. A receptionist escorted him toward the executive conference floor. The moment the elevator doors opened, he found himself standing outside a massive boardroom. Several executives were already seated around a long table. Conversation slowed as he entered. Noah recognized the expressions: curiosity, surprise, doubt. Marcus did not even hide his disappointment. Marcus leaned back and studied Noah. This is the lead consultant? He asked. A few executives exchanged glances. Noah pretended not to notice. Before anyone could respond, the conference room doors opened again. Ethan Hayes entered. The atmosphere changed immediately. Conversation stopped. Phones disappeared. Chairs straightened. Ethan greeted nobody. He simply walked to the head of the table and opened a project folder. Then his eyes briefly met Noah's. A small nod followed. Let us begin, Ethan said. The meeting lasted nearly 3 hours. During the first hour Noah spoke very little, listening as executives argued over demographics, spending projections, and market trends. Forecasts. Then Ethan asked a question that changed everything. Why are younger consumers disconnecting from our brand? Silence filled the room. Several executives offered rehearsed answers. Marcus blamed market conditions. Another executive blamed social media trends. A third blamed economic uncertainty. Ethan remained unconvinced. Finally his gaze shifted toward Noah. What do you think? Every face turned toward him. Noah felt his heartbeat accelerate. He could play it safe. Give a generic answer. Avoid attention. Instead, he remembered every time someone had underestimated him. Every time someone decided his appearance mattered more than his ideas. People are exhausted, Noah said. The room grew quiet. Exhausted by what? Ethan asked. By being told they are not enough. Noah leaned forward slightly. Most advertising starts with the same message. You are not attractive enough. Not successful enough. Not confident enough. Then companies offer products as solutions. Nobody interrupted. Consumers are smarter now. They do not want perfection. They want honesty. They want brands that make them feel understood instead of judged. Marcus folded his arms. That sounds emotional. Noah looked directly at him. People make emotional decisions every day. The smartest companies understand that. A few executives shifted in their seats. Ethan never looked away from Noah. Continue. Confidence slowly replaced nervousness. Noah explained his ideas. Real stories. Real people. Authentic campaigns. Human connection over manufactured perfection. By the time he finished, the room had become completely silent. Ethan closed his folder. That is our direction. Marcus frowned. Just like that? Ethan's gaze hardened slightly. Unless you have a stronger idea. Marcus said nothing. The decision was made. After the meeting ended, executives gradually left the room. Noah gathered his notes, still trying to process what had happened. Mr. Bennett. Ethan's voice stopped him. Walk with me. Noah followed him through several hallways overlooking the city. Neither spoke. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. How long have you worked in marketing? 5 years. And how long have people underestimated you? Noah laughed despite himself. That is a very specific question. It is also a simple one. Noah thought about it. Elementary school. High school. College. Interviews. Networking events. Dating. Life. Most of my life. He admitted. Ethan nodded. They are making a mistake. The words struck deeper than Noah expected. Nobody had ever said them with such certainty. Not because they felt sorry for him. Because they believed it. Later that afternoon, Noah toured the marketing division assigned to the campaign. That was when he encountered Marcus Reed again. Marcus stood near a group of department heads discussing timelines. Mr. Bennett, Marcus said smoothly. Noah already disliked the smile. Marcus. Interesting presentation earlier. Thank you. Marcus's smile widened. Although I suspect enthusiasm and expertise are not always the same thing. Noah immediately understood the message. Marcus did not think he belonged here. The old version of Noah would have smiled politely and walked away. This version made a different choice. Good thing I have both, Noah replied. Marcus blinked. The answer clearly surprised him. Confident. Prepared. Noah smiled pleasantly. There is a difference. Marcus watched him walk away. Meetings turned into brainstorming sessions. Brainstorming sessions turned into strategy presentations. Every day brought new challenges, and Marcus kept questioning Noah's decisions, but Noah kept proving himself. Slowly, people began listening. Designers sought his feedback. Analysts requested his opinion. Team leaders invited him into conversations that once happened behind closed doors. One evening, long after most employees had gone home, Noah remained alone reviewing campaign drafts. He rubbed tired eyes and reached for another file. A cup of coffee suddenly appeared beside him. Noah looked up. Ethan stood there holding a second cup. You are still here, Ethan said. Noah accepted the coffee. So are you. A rare smile appeared. Then Ethan sat across from him and reviewed the campaign concepts. They spent nearly an hour discussing ideas. Noah was starting to enjoy Ethan's company far more than he should. And somewhere across the building, Marcus Reed watched through a glass office wall, realizing the consultant he wanted gone was becoming more important to Ethan Hayes with every passing day. By the third week of the campaign, something unusual was happening inside Hayes' group. People were no longer calling Noah the consultant Ethan selected. They were calling him the reason the campaign was outperforming expectations. Tense meetings gained energy. Designers brought stronger concepts, analysts tried bolder strategies, and departments that rarely worked together began connecting. Noah had a gift that spreadsheets could not measure. He made people feel seen. That gift was quietly transforming the project. Not everyone appreciated it. Marcus Reed certainly did not. He sat inside his office overlooking downtown Chicago, reviewing engagement projections with growing frustration. Marcus had spent years climbing the corporate ladder. He understood power and influence. A knock interrupted his thoughts. "Come in." One of the department directors entered carrying a report. "The latest focus group results." Marcus opened the file. His expression darkened almost immediately. Consumer response scores were climbing faster than expected. Noah's recommendations were working. "Unbelievable," Marcus muttered. "Actually, the data is very believable," the director replied. Marcus closed the folder. "Thank you." The director left quickly, sensing the mood. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the building, Noah stood before a conference room filled with executives. A presentation screen displayed the newest campaign concept. "People do not connect with perfection," Noah explained. "They connect with authenticity. They remember stories that feel real." Several executives nodded. Ethan sat near the end of the table listening carefully. After the presentation, a younger designer approached Noah. "Can I ask you something?" Noah smiled. "Of course. How do you stay confident when people underestimate you?" The question caught him off guard. "I do not always feel confident," he admitted. "I just stopped letting insecurity make decisions for me." The designer smiled thoughtfully before leaving. Ethan overheard the exchange. "I stopped letting insecurity make decisions for me." Ethan wondered what life might have looked like if he had learned that lesson years ago. The following Friday, Hayes Group hosted an internal networking event for department leaders. Noah almost skipped it. Corporate social gatherings rarely ended well for him, but he forced himself to attend. The rooftop venue overlooked Lake Michigan. Soft music played through hidden speakers while employees mingled beneath strings of warm lights. Noah stood near a drink station, debating how long he needed to stay before leaving politely. "You look trapped." Noah turned. Ethan stood beside him holding 2 glasses of sparkling water. "I am considering escape routes," Noah admitted. Ethan laughed. "Reasonable. Do you enjoy these events?" "Not even slightly." Noah smiled. "That is reassuring." The conversation flowed naturally. Because every day Ethan felt less like a powerful chief executive officer and more like a man Noah genuinely enjoyed being around. Ethan belonged to a world Noah had never imagined entering. Wealth. Influence. Prestige. Across the rooftop, Marcus watched them speaking. The sight irritated him more than he cared to admit. He crossed the venue and joined a group of executives nearby. "Interesting partnership," one executive commented. Marcus followed his gaze. "Temporary." "You think so?" Marcus smiled thinly. People like Noah Bennett always become attached to opportunities. The executive frowned slightly. Or maybe he is simply talented. Marcus changed the subject immediately. Later, Ethan and Noah drifted toward a quieter section of the rooftop. The city lights reflected across the water. For once, either discussed campaigns, deadlines, or presentations. Instead, they talked about life. Childhood memories. Favorite books. Regrets. Dreams. Noah learned Ethan had grown up beneath enormous expectations. Ethan learned Noah spent years believing he was never enough. The honesty surprised both of them. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan said. "Why marketing?" Noah watched the dark water shift below the lights. "Because stories change people." Ethan waited. Noah continued. "A good story can make somebody feel understood. It can make them feel less alone. That matters." Ethan studied him quietly. Most people spoke about success, money, status. Noah spoke about connection. No wonder people responded to him. A sudden burst of laughter interrupted the moment. Several employees nearby had gathered around a phone. One of them waved excitedly. The preliminary campaign numbers are out. Within seconds, more people joined the group. Noah and Ethan walked over. The employee looked up, visibly excited. You need to see this. He turned the screen around. Social engagement numbers were exploding. Consumer response ratings had nearly doubled projections. Industry blogs were already discussing the campaign. Positive comments flooded every platform. The room erupted with celebration. Employees hugged. Designers cheered. Team leaders exchanged congratulations. Noah stared at the numbers. Months earlier, he would have assumed success belonged to somebody else. Tonight, he saw proof of his own work. Ethan stepped beside him. Congratulations. Noah laughed softly. It is still early. Maybe. Ethan's expression remained calm. But you were right. Those 4 words meant more than Ethan realized. Because for most of Noah's life, nobody had ever said them. Yet across the rooftop, Marcus Reed watched everything unfold with growing resentment. And if Noah continued earning Ethan's trust, Marcus might become the one losing influence instead. Success changed the atmosphere inside Hayes Group. People walked through hallways with more energy. Department heads smiled more often. Executives who once doubted the campaign now eagerly claimed they had supported it from the beginning. The numbers continued climbing week after week. Industry publications praised the company's new direction. Consumers responded with enthusiasm. Investors noticed. Shareholders celebrated. Marcus Reed had spent years building influence inside Hayes Group. He knew how power worked. He knew how reputations were built. More importantly, he knew how they could be destroyed. Over the next several days, he quietly planted doubts. Do you think Noah is getting too much credit? He asked one executive during lunch. The entire team contributed. Later he told another manager. Ethan seems unusually invested in that consultant. Every remark sounded harmless by itself. One afternoon he sat with a focus group reviewing new concepts. Instead of watching the presentation, he studied the participants. Their reactions. Their expressions. Their emotional responses. When the session ended, one middle-aged woman approached him. Can I tell you something? Noah smiled. Of course. Your campaign made me cry. Noah blinked. That was not the goal. She laughed softly. It was not because it was sad. It was because it felt honest. She hesitated. Most companies talk at people. Yours felt like it was talking to them. The woman left before Noah could respond. At Hayes Group, Ethan sat through another executive meeting. The discussion centered around campaign performance. Everyone wanted to celebrate. Everyone except Marcus. The numbers are impressive, Marcus admitted. But I think we should remain cautious. Ethan glanced up from the report. Why? Marcus folded his hands. Public enthusiasm can be temporary. Everything is temporary, Ethan replied. Several executives exchanged amused looks. Marcus continued anyway. I simply think we should avoid building our strategy around one individual. Ethan understood exactly who he meant. We are building strategy around results. Marcus forced a smile. Of course. The meeting ended shortly afterward. As executives filed out, Marcus remained behind. Ethan continued reviewing documents. You trust him? Marcus said. Ethan did not look up. Who? Noah. Ethan closed the folder slowly. Is there a reason this conversation keeps happening? Marcus hesitated. I think you are overlooking certain realities. Such as? Marcus leaned back. People like Noah become emotionally attached to opportunities. Sometimes gratitude gets mistaken for something more. Ethan's gaze cooled. I am not interested in discussing my employees. Marcus immediately realized he had pushed too far. Understood. Yet as he left the room, he felt oddly satisfied. Seeds only needed time. Meanwhile, Noah received an unexpected invitation. Ethan wanted him present during a private executive strategy retreat the following weekend. The invitation shocked him. These events were normally reserved for senior leadership. "Are you sure they meant me?" Noah asked when Ethan called. "Yes. Some executives are not going to like that." "That sounds like their problem." Noah laughed despite himself. Ethan's dry humor appeared more frequently these days. The retreat took place at a lakeside conference property 2 hours outside Chicago. Noah arrived Saturday morning carrying presentation materials and enough anxiety to fill an entire suitcase. Luxury vehicles lined the parking area. Senior executives moved through the venue discussing business and investments. Noah instantly felt out of place. "Relax." Ethan appeared beside him. "You look like you are preparing for a courtroom trial." "I feel like I accidentally wandered into one." Ethan smiled. "You belong here." 3 simple words. Yet they lingered in Noah's mind throughout the day. The retreat proceeded smoothly. Presentations, discussions, strategic planning. Noah contributed ideas that impressed even skeptical executives. By late afternoon, several people who originally questioned his presence were actively seeking his opinion. Marcus watched the transformation unfold with growing frustration. That evening, attendees gathered around an outdoor dining area overlooking the lake. After work concluded, conversations shifted toward families, hobbies, and travel. Noah found himself seated beside Ethan near the water. The sunset painted the lake in shades of gold and orange. For a moment, everything felt peaceful. Then Marcus arrived carrying a drink. "Mind if I join you?" Before either could answer, he pulled out a chair. Noah immediately sensed trouble. Marcus smiled pleasantly. "You know, Noah, your story is inspiring." Noah frowned slightly. "My story?" "Of course." Marcus glanced around the table. "Small agency consultant gets noticed by one of the most powerful chief executive officers in America." Several people looked uncomfortable. Marcus continued anyway. "That kind of opportunity does not happen often." Ethan's expression cooled. "Get to the point." Marcus laughed softly. "There is no point. I am simply admiring the situation." Noah understood exactly what Marcus was doing. So did everyone else. The implication hung in the air. Noah's success existed because Ethan felt sorry for him. Not because he earned it. The old version of Noah might have remained silent. This version made a different choice. "You are right," Noah said calmly. Marcus looked surprised. "I am? Opportunities like this do not happen often." Noah met his gaze directly. "Which is why I worked hard enough to deserve it." The room held its breath. Several executives suddenly looked impressed. Marcus's smile faded slightly. For the rest of the evening, Marcus remained unusually quiet. Late that night, Noah walked alone along the lake. Footsteps approached behind him. Noah did not need to turn around. He already knew who it was. Ethan stopped beside him, hands in his pockets. Then Ethan finally broke it. "You handled Marcus better than I would have." Noah laughed softly. "That is probably not true." Ethan looked out toward the water. "Trust me." For a few seconds they simply stood together beneath the night sky. Then Ethan asked a question that caught Noah completely off guard. "Has anyone ever told you how extraordinary you are?" Noah stared at him. His heart skipped painfully. Ethan seemed unaware of the effect. Or perhaps he was not. Before Noah could answer, Ethan's phone rang. Ethan glanced at the screen and frowned. He answered immediately. As Noah watched him walk away toward the conference center, an uncomfortable feeling settled in his chest. Because for the first time, he found himself wishing work would stop stealing Ethan away. And he had no idea how much that feeling was about to hurt. The retreat ended on Sunday afternoon, but Noah carried Ethan's question all the way back to Chicago. "Has anyone ever told you how extraordinary you are?" By Monday, the campaign's latest performance reports exceeded every projection. Consumer engagement continued climbing. Brand approval ratings reached levels the company had not seen in years. Marketing publications began highlighting Hayes Group as one of the most successful brand transformations of the year. Employees celebrated. Executives congratulated one another. By noon, several media outlets requested interviews. By afternoon, industry analysts were discussing the campaign on national business programs. Then one board member smiled toward Noah. "I think we owe Mr. Bennett some recognition." Several executives nodded. Marcus remained expressionless. Another board member laughed. "At this rate, competitors are going to start trying to hire him away." The comments sounded harmless. Ethan was no longer simply impressed by Noah. He cared about him. Later that week, Noah arrived early for work and stopped abruptly outside the employee cafe. Two marketing managers sat near the window. They had not noticed him. "I heard." Ethan specifically requested him. "Everybody knows that." Still seems strange. "Not really. Some people get lucky." Noah froze. The conversation continued. "You think he would be here without Ethan?" "Probably not." The words stung more than they should have. He quietly turned away before either manager noticed him. Did he earn it? Or was everyone right? Around lunchtime, Ethan found Noah alone in a conference room reviewing data. "You missed lunch." Noah looked up. "I was busy." Ethan studied him carefully. "Something felt off. You look tired." Noah forced a smile. "Occupational hazard." Ethan did not look convinced. Still, he let the subject go. For now. 2 days later, Hayes Group organized a celebration for the campaign's newest milestone. Hundreds gathered inside a renovated riverside venue while screens displayed the campaign's achievements. Noah tried to enjoy the evening. He genuinely did. Yet something felt different. Ever since overhearing those comments, doubts had started creeping back into places he thought were healing. Near the center of the venue, Ethan stepped onto a stage. The crowd gradually quieted. "A few months ago," Ethan began, "most experts believed this campaign would struggle." Laughter moved through the audience. Today it has become one of the most successful projects in company history. Applause erupted. Ethan waited for it to settle. That success belongs to every person in this room. More applause followed. Then Ethan continued, "But exceptional leadership deserves recognition." Noah immediately felt nervous. Ethan's gaze moved through the crowd. Noah Bennett. Hundreds of faces turned toward him. Noah froze. "Come up here." The applause intensified. Reluctantly, Noah walked toward the stage. His heart hammered against his ribs. Ethan handed him the microphone. Everything changed when Noah challenged us to stop selling perfection and start telling the truth. The room erupted again. Noah stood there, overwhelmed. For a brief moment he forgot every insult, every insecurity, every painful memory. Then he noticed Marcus standing near the back of the room. Marcus was smiling. The expression looked friendly. Yet something about it felt wrong. Later that evening, Noah slipped outside for fresh air. The river reflected city lights across dark water. He leaned against a railing and exhaled slowly. "Hiding?" Ethan asked. "Recovering." Ethan joined him. Finally, Noah asked a question he had been carrying for days. "Why did you choose me?" Ethan looked surprised. "You know why. Humor me." Ethan turned toward him. "Because you were the most qualified person." Noah immediately looked away. "That is not what everyone thinks." Ethan's gaze cooled. "Who?" Noah shook his head. "It does not matter." But Ethan already understood. Someone had said something. Something that hurt. "Noah." His voice became firmer. "Look at me." Noah reluctantly met his gaze. "You earned every opportunity you have received." Ethan did not hesitate. Did not soften the statement. Did not qualify it. "You earned this project. You earned this success. You earned every bit of respect people are showing you." Noah wanted to believe him. The problem was that believing positive things about himself had always been harder than believing negative ones. Ethan seemed to recognize the struggle. Do you know what your biggest weakness is? Noah laughed. That is a dangerous question. You spend more time believing your critics than believing yourself. The accuracy hit like a punch. Before either could continue, a voice interrupted them. There you are. Marcus approached carrying a drink. His smile appeared relaxed. Friendly. False. Everyone is looking for you. Ethan's face closed off immediately. We will be inside shortly. Marcus nodded. Yet before leaving, he looked directly at Noah. Enjoy this moment. Noah frowned slightly. What does that mean? Marcus's smile widened. Success changes quickly. Then he walked away. Noah watched him disappear into the venue. An uneasy feeling settled in his chest. The storm arrived 3 days later. Not the kind that brought rain. Noah had stayed late reviewing campaign materials when he realized he left a notebook inside one of the executive conference rooms. Light spilled from beneath a partially closed office door. Voices drifted into the corridor. The campaign succeeded because of the team, Marcus said. Not because of one consultant. Another executive laughed. Tell that to Ethan. That is exactly the problem, Marcus replied. He has become too personally invested. Noah's stomach tightened. He should leave. Instead, he remained where he was. You really think Noah earned all this attention? Someone asked. Marcus answered immediately. No. I think Ethan feels responsible for him. A few people chuckled. The guy practically follows Ethan around. More laughter. Noah felt heat rise into his face. Then another executive spoke. Maybe Noah is just talented. Talented? Marcus scoffed. Please. There are dozens of consultants with similar qualifications. He is only sitting at these tables because Ethan feels sorry for him. The hallway suddenly felt smaller. Marcus continued. People like Noah become attached. Give them a little attention and suddenly they think they belong among executives. More laughter followed. Noah's chest tightened painfully. Then silence filled the room. Noah turned away before he could hear anything else. He walked toward the elevator. The elevator doors closed. Noah stared at his reflection in the polished metal. Upstairs, the conversation continued. Marcus leaned back comfortably. You see my point. Ethan finally looked up from the report in front of him. Are you finished? Marcus smiled. Just being realistic. Ethan closed the folder. Then allow me to be realistic. The room became quiet. Noah Bennett is responsible for results that none of you achieved. Marcus's smile disappeared. Ethan, you questioned him. He proved you wrong. You dismissed him. He proved you wrong. You underestimated him. He proved you wrong. Ethan's voice remained calm. If anyone here earned their seat, it is Noah. No one answered right away. Marcus looked away. Ethan gathered his documents and left. The next morning, Noah arrived at work determined to act normal. He greeted coworkers, attended meetings, reviewed presentations. Ethan noticed immediately. Noah no longer lingered after meetings. After a strategy session ended, he stopped Noah near the elevators. Do you have a minute? Noah forced a smile. Sure. Ethan studied him carefully. What happened? Noah frowned. What do you mean? You have been avoiding me. Noah laughed lightly. I have been working. That is not the reason. For a moment Noah considered telling the truth. You are imagining things. The elevator doors opened. Noah stepped inside. Ethan remained standing in the hallway. The doors closed between them. 2 weeks later the campaign officially launched nationwide. The response exceeded every projection. Social media filled with praise, news outlets called it one of the year's biggest success stories, and investors celebrated. During the launch celebration, Ethan stood before hundreds of employees. Cameras flashed around the room. This success belongs to an extraordinary team, Ethan said. Applause filled the venue. Then his gaze found Noah. But one person changed the direction of this company. More applause followed. Noah Bennett. The crowd erupted. Noah walked onto the stage. Smiles surrounded him. After the event ended, Noah slipped outside onto a quiet bench overlooking the river. A few minutes later, Ethan appeared. There you are. Noah smiled politely. Congratulations. Ethan sat beside him. You deserved every word. Thank you? The answer sounded distant even to Noah. Ethan noticed. You still seem unhappy. Noah stared across the river. Can I ask you something? Anything. Noah took a slow breath. Have you ever been the person nobody chooses? Ethan looked confused. What? The person people tolerate but never really value. The person who gets invited because excluding them would look rude. Ethan listened carefully. Noah continued. The person everyone compliments in public but doubts in private. The words carried more pain than he meant to reveal. Noah stood before Ethan could respond. I should go. Ethan rose as well. Noah. Noah paused. Ethan searched for the right words. I think something happened. Noah smiled faintly. Maybe. Talk to me. Noah looked at him for several seconds. Pain flickered across his face before he hid it. Real kindness is standing beside someone when it costs you something. Ethan froze. Noah stepped away. Good night, Ethan. Then he walked toward the parking lot. Ethan remained standing beside the river long after Noah disappeared. Later that night, Noah opened an email waiting in his inbox. The sender was New York Creative Partners, one of the most respected creative agencies in the country. The offer was almost impossible to ignore. Senior Creative Director, double the salary, full relocation support, and a chance to lead national campaigns under his own name. 6 months earlier, Noah would have accepted before the screen dimmed. Now he sat in his apartment staring at the Chicago skyline, hating that one person made the decision hurt. Ethan should not influence this. Their relationship was professional, or at least that was the line Noah kept repeating until it stopped sounding convincing. Across the city, Ethan sat alone in his office, unable to focus on reports. Noah's words kept returning to him. Real kindness is standing beside someone when it costs you something. Ethan searched his calendar, found the executive discussion with Marcus, and understood too late. Noah had heard the insult. Worse, he had heard Ethan's delay before he defended him. The part Noah missed did not erase the part that wounded him. By morning, Ethan had stopped making excuses. The next morning he called an executive meeting. By 9 o'clock the conference room was full. Marcus sat near the center of the table, unaware of what was coming. Ethan entered carrying a folder. Before we begin, Ethan said, there is something we need to address. The room grew quiet. Ethan placed the folder on the table. A few weeks ago, comments were made about a member of this company. Marcus's expression shifted slightly. Ethan continued. Those comments questioned his qualifications, his value, and his place within this organization. Nobody spoke. Talent is not determined by appearance. Leadership is not determined by appearance. Worth is not determined by appearance. Ethan's voice remained calm. That made it more intimidating. Anyone in this room who still believes otherwise should reconsider whether they belong in leadership. Complete silence followed. Ethan's gaze moved directly toward him. Results matter. Noah Bennett delivered results. End of discussion. Nobody challenged him. Meanwhile, Noah spent the morning reviewing the New York offer. Creative freedom. Leadership responsibilities. National campaigns. Around noon his supervisor entered his office carrying coffee. You look serious. Noah laughed softly. That obvious? Terrifyingly obvious. She sat across from him. What is going on? Noah hesitated before handing her the offer letter. Her eyes widened instantly. Noah. I know. This is huge. I know. You are going to take it, right? Noah looked out the window. I do not know. His supervisor stared at him. The Noah Bennett I hired 3 years ago would already be packing. That observation stayed with him long after she left. Because she was right. Later that afternoon, Ethan finally found Noah alone. "Can we talk?" Noah nodded cautiously. Ethan closed the door behind him. "You overheard that executive conversation." It was not a question. Noah looked away. Ethan exhaled slowly. "I should have realized sooner." Noah remained quiet. "You left before hearing the rest." "Maybe." "Noah." Ethan stepped closer. "I defended you." Noah laughed softly. "Do you know what I remember?" Ethan said nothing. "I remember standing outside that room waiting." Noah met his gaze. "I remember hearing people question everything I worked for." Pain flickered across his expression. "And I remember hoping the one person whose opinion mattered would say something." Ethan felt every word. "You are right." Noah blinked. Ethan continued. "You are right to be angry." "I am not angry." "Then disappointed." Noah turned his eyes toward the floor. Ethan's voice softened. "That might be worse." The room fell quiet. Finally Ethan spoke again. "I made a mistake." Noah closed his eyes briefly. "At the time, I thought the comments were insignificant." Ethan shook his head. "I was wrong." Noah listened without interrupting. "I should have stopped the conversation immediately." Ethan looked directly at him. "You deserve that." For the first time since the misunderstanding began, Noah felt the sharp edge of his anger soften. He glanced down at the screen. New York Creative Partners. Ethan noticed immediately. "The agency?" Noah looked surprised. "How did you know?" Ethan almost smiled. "Your expression." Noah lowered the phone. "You are considering it." Again, not a question. "Yes." Ethan looked toward the window. "When do they need an answer?" "Soon." The answer stayed between them. "I should get back to work." Ethan nodded slowly. As Noah reached the door, he stopped. "For what it is worth," he said quietly, "thank you for apologizing." Then he left. Ethan remained alone in the conference room. Yet for the first time, Ethan realized that caring about someone and controlling their future were not the same thing. It was about whether he was brave enough to choose himself, even if choosing himself meant walking away from the person he loved. Noah accepted the New York offer on a rainy Thursday night. His finger hovered over the send button for almost a minute before he clicked. The confirmation arrived quickly. They were thrilled. Contracts would follow. Relocation would begin the next week. Everything he had worked for was finally real, and somehow the room felt too quiet. The next morning, his supervisor hugged him before he finished explaining. "You earned this," she said. "Do not let anyone convince you otherwise." Noah smiled. "I am trying." "No," she replied. "You are learning. There is a difference." By lunch, the agency knew. Co-workers congratulated him. Clients sent messages. Everyone seemed ready to celebrate the version of Noah who was brave enough to leave. At Hayes Group headquarters, Ethan learned the news during a routine briefing when a director mentioned Noah's relocation plan. "Relocation?" Ethan asked. The room became awkward. "To New York," the director said. Ethan answered the rest of the meeting by instinct, but his mind stayed on one fact. Noah was not thinking about leaving anymore. He was leaving. That evening, Ethan called him. Noah stared at the number before answering. "You accepted," Ethan said. "I did." The pause felt heavier than an argument. "Why did you not tell me?" "I was going to." "Eventually?" Noah closed his eyes. "Probably." Ethan's voice dropped. "I thought we were friends." Noah looked through the rain on his apartment window. Maybe that is the problem. When Ethan asked what he meant, Noah finally said what had been building for months. You belong in a world where doors open automatically. People listen when you speak. People assume you belong. Some of us spend years trying to earn what other people receive without asking. Ethan understood then that this was not really about New York. It was about dignity. The call ended politely, which somehow made it hurt more. Then came the industry celebration dinner. The campaign had become one of the year's biggest success stories, and executives gathered at an upscale restaurant overlooking the river. For a while, Noah almost relaxed. Then a woman in a black dress entered like she knew every name in the room. She walked straight to Ethan, kissed his cheek, adjusted his tie with familiar ease, and sat beside him. "Sorry I am late," she said. Ethan smiled at her, and Noah felt something inside him fold. Claire noticed Ethan watching Noah before Ethan admitted it to himself. "You keep looking at him," she whispered. Ethan nearly choked on his drink. "What?" Claire raised an eyebrow. "You have checked on him at least 15 times. Across the table, Noah saw only what insecurity wanted him to see, a beautiful woman who belonged in Ethan's world. The next morning, he signed the final relocation paperwork. New York became official. Days later, at a major industry awards ceremony, a reporter approached Ethan during a live interview. "People keep asking about your future," she said. "Marriage, maybe?" The camera shifted toward Claire, and the room laughed knowingly. Noah's stomach twisted. The reporter smiled. "So is there someone special?" Ethan's expression changed. His gaze moved across the ballroom and found Noah. "There is someone I care about," he said. The room quieted. "The problem is that I realized it too late." Noah slipped away before anyone could stop him. He needed air. He needed distance. Most of all, he needed time to think. The rooftop terrace was almost empty when he arrived. Cool autumn wind moved across the city. Chicago spread beneath the night sky, bright and unreachable. For 6 months, he had dreamed about leaving this city. Now, only weeks before his departure, everything felt uncertain again. The terrace door opened behind him. Noah did not turn around. He already knew who it was. Ethan stopped several feet away. For a few breaths, either man moved toward easy words. The silence felt different this time. Not awkward. Not painful. Just honest. Finally, Ethan broke it. "I was hoping I would find you here." Noah laughed softly. "You always do." A faint smile appeared on Ethan's face. Then it disappeared just as quickly. "You heard what I said." "Everybody heard what you said." Ethan stepped closer. "Then you know I was not talking about Claire." Noah finally turned toward him. "Your cousin?" Ethan blinked. "You thought Claire and I were dating?" Noah immediately felt embarrassed. "It seemed possible." Ethan stared for 2 seconds before laughing. Genuine laughter. The kind Noah rarely heard from him. "Claire is going to enjoy hearing that." Noah shook his head. "This is not helping." Ethan's smile faded. "No. It is not." The city lights reflected in his eyes as he looked directly at Noah. "The person I was talking about was you." Hearing the words spoken aloud felt completely different. More real. More dangerous. Noah looked away first. "Ethan, I know." Ethan's voice softened. "I know this is complicated. Complicated is one word for it. Probably not the best one." Despite everything, Noah smiled. Then the smile disappeared. "Why now?" Ethan did not pretend to misunderstand the question. "Because I am running out of time." Noah's chest tightened. Ethan continued. "For most of my life, I assumed there would always be another opportunity. Another conversation. Another meeting. Another chance to fix things later." He shook his head. "Then you accepted a job in New York." Noah listened quietly. "And suddenly later did not feel guaranteed anymore." The honesty in Ethan's voice made looking away impossible. In that moment, Ethan seemed completely vulnerable. No corporate mask. No carefully controlled expression. Just a man afraid of losing something important. "I care about you," Ethan admitted. "More than I should have allowed myself to." Noah closed his eyes briefly. Part of him wanted those words to solve everything. Unfortunately, life was rarely that simple. "I care about you too," he admitted. Ethan's expression changed immediately. Hope appeared so quickly that it almost hurt to see. But? Ethan asked. You know me too well. The but sounded large. It is. Noah faced the skyline because it was easier than facing Ethan. I spent years waiting for people to choose me. His voice remained calm. Years believing I had to earn my place in every room. Every friendship. Every relationship. Ethan listened without interrupting. New York is the first thing I chose completely for myself. The words stayed suspended between them. Ethan nodded slowly. And you should choose it. Noah stared at him. What? You should go. For a second, Noah wondered if he had heard correctly. Ethan continued. If I ask you to stay right now, I will spend the rest of my life wondering whether I held you back. Noah could not speak. You earned this opportunity, Ethan said. You built it. You deserve it. The wind moved between them. Neither looked away. So what happens now? Noah asked quietly. Ethan smiled sadly. I have no idea. That answer felt more honest than any promise could have. They spent nearly an hour talking on the terrace. About fears. About mistakes. About the future. About everything they should have discussed months earlier. By the time they finally left, nothing had been fully resolved. Yet something important had changed. There were no more secrets between them. 2 weeks later, Noah boarded a flight to New York. Ethan did not ask him to stay. Noah did not ask Ethan to follow. The goodbye was simple. Honest. Painful. And somehow exactly what it needed to be. The first months in New York were hard and rewarding. His apartment was smaller than expected, his schedule was brutal, and nobody at the new agency cared that Ethan Hayes once believed in him. That was exactly what he needed. Every pitch had to stand on its own. Every client had to be earned. When a national nonprofit campaign stalled 3 days before presentation, Noah rewrote the entire message around one simple idea: people do not need to be perfect to be worthy of help. The room went quiet when he presented it. Then the client approved it on the spot. Within weeks, the campaign spread across social media, and industry leaders began requesting Noah by name. Little by little, he stopped seeing himself through the eyes of people who underestimated him. He started seeing himself clearly. Back in Chicago, Ethan changed in quieter but real ways. He delegated more, left the office before midnight, and stopped treating love like something that could wait until every crisis was solved. Marcus tried to recover his influence by questioning another team's work in a leadership review. This time, nobody followed him. One director calmly said, "We are done mistaking arrogance for standards." Marcus resigned 2 weeks later for a smaller firm, and the office did not miss the fear he used to create. Claire never stopped teasing Ethan, but she also noticed the difference. Noah and Ethan did not rush back into anything. Messages became calls. Calls became visits. Visits became trust. Neither forced a promise before they were ready. 6 months later, another major industry awards ceremony brought them together again. This time, Noah stood on stage accepting one of the highest honors of his career. Hundreds of professionals rose to their feet in applause. Cameras flashed throughout the ballroom. Noah smiled as he accepted the award. Not because of the recognition. Because he finally understood something. His value had never depended on approval. Not from strangers. Not from critics. Not even from people he loved. Later that evening, he stepped outside onto a familiar terrace. Chicago shimmered below, familiar and changed at the same time. A few moments later, Ethan joined him. "Congratulations," Ethan said. Noah smiled. "Thank you." Ethan looked at him carefully. "You know, I have been thinking about something." "That sounds dangerous." "Usually." Ethan laughed softly. "Do you remember the gala?" Noah immediately knew which one. "The dessert table?" Ethan nodded. "The man who said nobody would ever choose you." Noah smiled. "I remember." Ethan stepped closer. "He was wrong." Noah let his gaze move across the city. "No. Ethan frowned. No? Noah shook his head gently. That is not the lesson. Then what is? Noah turned toward him. Confidence replaced the insecurity that once defined him. The lesson is that my value never depended on being chosen in the first place. For a moment, Ethan simply stared at him. Then he smiled. Not because Noah belonged to him. Not because he had won. But because Noah had finally become the person he was always meant to be. Noah reached for his hand. Ethan took it immediately. Together they stood above the city where their story began. No longer a powerful chief executive officer and an insecure Omega. No longer a rescuer and someone waiting to be saved. Just two people who had learned how to choose each other without losing themselves. And this time, that choice was enough.